Thank you, Lise. And hello, everyone. And thank you for joining today from your very busy schedules, I'm sure. This is a strange time, and it's a pity that this debate has been moved online due to COVID-19. But I can tell you that my mom, at least, is thrilled with it being this way. Let me explain. 2 years ago, I was almost killed for speaking like I am today. I was invited to talk at the biggest Iranian government opposition gathering of 25,000 people in Paris in solidarity with the Iranian people. Before I left to travel to France, however, my mom had pleaded with me not to go. She was concerned about my outspoken involvement against the Iranian regime. You know, this is something with all moms. No matter what your age is, they always worry. So I told her, come on, Mom, the Iranian regime wouldn't dare do something in Paris. I'll be safe there. It's France. So I went as planned. I delivered my speech. It all went smoothly. But afterwards, on my way back to the hotel, online is where it all blew up. No pun intended. Ping, 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 BBC, Reuters, AFP, all popped up onto my phone with the headline, EU intelligence intercepts a terrorist bombing on an Iranian rally in France. What? That was the rally I had just been at. The French government 2 years ago, later came out stating that the Iranian intelligence ministry was behind the plot. An Iranian diplomat and Iranian terrorists were detained. They had half a kg of explosives and a detonator in them. Can you imagine the sheer atrocity? The learned lesson, never underestimate your mom's intuition. Putting my personal story aside, let's break down the motion which says Iran is not our enemy. Not to be pedantic, but the definition of enemy itself from the Latin inimicus is simply not a friend, while the Oxford Dictionary defines enemy as a person or nation who is actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. So I'm not being harsh or irrational here. Last year, according to Reuters, Iran killed 1,500 of their own citizens and injured thousands, with 7,000 people detained. This was just last year. Why? Their crime was that they were protesting because they are starving. 40% of the Iranian population is currently under the absolute poverty line. They are starving to death. Despite this, Iran squanders $16 billion every year supporting terrorist groups, including Hezbollah, according to the FDD. Hezbollah is the world's most heavily armed non-state actor with estimates of 130,000 rockets and missiles and up to 65,000 fighters, according to the Iranian Fars news agency, an Iranian government-controlled media, by the way. You know, just like you never have to ask a vegan if they are vegan because they will always say it themselves. No offense, vegans, I really like you. The Iranian regime is just the same, but with their terrorist activities. Most of the world's nations consider Hezbollah with its military wing a terrorist organization, including the UK and Germany just this year. They boast about their suicide bombings, hostage crises, embassy attacks, and flight hijacks, with all of the statistics of how many thousands of innocent people had been murdered in cold blood over the years. And it's not just Iran's funded militias that are wreaking havoc. The Iranian regime itself has overtly attacked many embassies in Tehran, including the British embassy in November 2011. Look, nobody wants to start a war here, but it's the rest of the world that is on the receiving end of Iran's warfare, aggression, terrorism, and bloodshed. A simple question, friend or enemy? In 2015, Iran signed a nuclear deal with the US in exchange for $150 billion and lifted sanctions. What did they do with this money? No. They did not invest it into building a more stable nation for their people. No. They did not build hospitals or schools. Instead, they channeled the money towards their terror networks around the globe. So the million-dollar question, or rather the billion-dollar question, why did Iran do this though? Expansionism is their priority. Compared to Hitler, Ali Khamenei, the current supreme leader, or what I call the current extreme leader of Iran, is the only one who calls the shots for the entire country. There's no concept of moderates and hardliners in Iran. His expansionist ideologies stem from the Islamic Republic of Iran's constitution that actually states that they must, and I quote, expand the sovereignty of God's law throughout the world. This government has ballistic missiles and is currently progressing their nuclear powers. Nobody knew what Hitler was capable of before he committed his catastrophic atrocities. Friend or enemy? Now, before I finish up, I want you to guess who said this comment. I quote, Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. This was said in 2015. It wasn't by Donald J. Trump. It was Barack Hussein Obama. So there's no argument here. If we believe that Iran is not our enemy, then we need to revise our definition of the word enemy in the dictionary. And we need to seriously reevaluate what we believe to be right and wrong. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, and by the way, my mom says hi to everybody.
Iran is not our enemy, because if the opposition want you to believe that sponsoring terrorism, fomenting extremism, denying democracy to your people automatically makes you an enemy of the West, then what on earth does that make Saudi Arabia? I can't wait to hear Salman al-Ansari's speech for the opposition on behalf of the Saudis today, because it wasn't 15 Iranians who were on those planes on 9/11. It was 15 Saudis. It wasn't Iranian school curriculum that ISIS borrowed from in Raqqa. It was the Saudi school curriculum. It wasn't an al-Qaeda-sponsored Iranian cadet who just 6 months ago shot and killed 3 U.S. Navy sailors at a military base in Florida. It was an al-Qaeda-sponsored Saudi cadet. And yet, despite all of this, we're perfectly okay saying Saudi Arabia is not only not our enemy, but it's our ally, our friend, our BFF in the region, while Iran is our mortal enemy. Sorry, how does any of that make any sense whatsoever?
Yeah, believe it or not, Mahdi is one of the people I admire for his debating skills. But unfortunately, he used 2 logical fallacies today: whataboutism and a straw man. So, speaking about Iran and sticking to the topic, which is Iran, and right now he's speaking about Saudi Arabia. Look, I'm an independent Saudi analyst. And yes, I do not agree with all the Saudi policies. But in general, I cannot equate Saudi with Iran. Saudi Arabia is a G20 country. Saudi Arabia is in the top 10 biggest humanitarian assistance contributor in the world. And what about Iran? It spreads what? It spreads terrorism and bloodshed and manslaughter. And the other logical fallacy he uses, which is a straw man. So instead of speaking about the topic, he would be actually going to what I would call it the ad hominem actually attack, which is the fact that I'm Saudi. So I don't see this as a very convincing.
Hold on. Can I defend myself?
Wait. With regards to what Azada has mentioned, with regards to the group in Paris, actually, that's what the Iranian regime kept saying, that the MEK is a terrorist group, etc., and they pressured the US and the West and the world to do so. But who did lifted the sanctions and the designation of MEK? It's Hillary Clinton under the supervision of Obama. So I don't know what you are talking about when you said this is considered to be a designated terrorist group. Another thing.
No.
Because I admire Mahdi's debating skills. I think the best one who can respond to Mahdi is Mahdi himself. He said in Al Jazeera Upfront interview published in the 3rd of December 2016, before Al Jazeera channel shifted its position, he said, Iran supports Houthi fighters in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and in Syria. It sends foreign fighters from across the world, from as far afield as Afghanistan, Shia fighters into Syria to prop up a government that represents a minority Alawite population. And I also quote him saying the majority of the people in Syria, every independent group, are being killed by the Assad regime, which Iran arms, funds, and supports. That's what Mahdi said. I don't know. I can't understand why he shifted his idea other than the shift of the relationship between Qatar. Yeah, to recap, if you vote for the motion, which is Iran is not our enemy, I think you are okay with the existence of Hezbollah and terrorist militias, and you're okay with the Iranian-backed Assad regime and the 500,000 people they have killed. And you're okay with the displacement of 12 million people, half of the Syrian population. And you're okay with the IRGC, Quds forces, Houthis, 75 Iranian-backed Iraqi militias, and you are okay with the fact that the Iranian regime continues to deny the Holocaust. And you are okay with the Iranian citizens suffering with no voice, no choice, no way out. Are you seriously okay with empowering this militant, wicked, despicable elite group and their global actions of brute force and overt manslaughter? If yes, then you should vote for the motion today. But as the Iranian proverb goes, a blind person who sees is better than a seeing person who is blind. You've heard the facts, so don't choose to be blind today. I urge you to vote against this unjustifiable motion.